My name is Durba Mitra, and I am an assistant professor of studies of women, gender, and sexuality at Harvard University, and the Carol K. Forsheimer Assistant Professor at the Radcliffe Institute at Harvard. Welcome to my exp. In the space of this kind of rise of authoritarianism, it's really feminist thinking that has helped us think about how we can organize for minority rights. It's states that have created the possibility of the minoritization and the extermination of certain kinds of people. In the context of contemporary India, it's really the rise of anti-Muslimness, which has become more virulent and more violent than ever, and especially so in the last few years. And I would think in particular of one political movement that is a good exemplar of the way that feminists have been not only essential, but really the origins and the leaders as part of these political movements that for defending more broadly what is citizenship today? What does it mean to think about justice today? What does it mean to imagine a more just world? I would point everyone to the position of the political movements of Shaheen Bagh, which emerged in late 2019, right before the rise of the pandemic all over the world. Shaheen Bagh, which is an area in New Delhi, where a set of women, after the passage of the Citizenship Amendment Act and violence of the Indian political state against Muslim minorities and against student protests, was a political, it's hard for me to use the past tense actually, it is a political movement of largely Muslim women who sat in nonviolent protest for over 100 days to protest citizenship laws that took away citizenship from Muslims in India. But we also see women leading political movements all over India in the context of Kashmir, the disputed territory in the Northwest region. Women have been leading political movements for Kashmiri autonomy from the 1970s and 80s. Women have been leading political movements in Assam, in the disputed territories in the northeast region of India, where the Indian state has used and invoked emergency law to lead to massive militarization. These political protests, which have happened for decades, it's not a new political imagination, use things and techniques like women in the nude protesting sexual violence against women by the military in areas like Assam. So we see all kinds of techniques, the use of the body, the use of nonviolent protest, the use of coalitional politics to imagine public space in kind of anti-masculine ways, to retake and reclaim public space for themselves. This is the radical imagination of feminist political organizing, which is far greater, has far greater reach than just a narrow realm of women's rights. I think there's no space where one can be a woman of color and a political leader or part of a political movement or a social movement without it being dangerous. But I think what we see in these political movements, whether it's in the global north or in the global south, is that women of color take leadership positions or come out in mass, call themselves mothers and daughters on behalf of political movements because they see it as a necessity. But also because women of color are perpetually in danger. Whether we're talking about the global north or the global south, particularly if you're a minoritized woman, a woman of color, or in the context of South Asia, minoritized or poor or Dalit, from the depressed classes, what you see is that really what's at stake every day in a woman's life, is their body, is their right to sexual autonomy. And so what you find is that, in fact, The political protest is actually just part of a continuum of the experience of women of color who fight every single day for the right to be women, for the right to have political autonomy, for the right to have autonomy and sovereignty over their body. And so feminists are critical, I think, in theorizing how we can imagine the environment differently. That's in part because feminists are the ones who have to create and imagine the environment. They are the ones who, when we think about critiques of things like the question of labor and housework, they are the ones performing forms of labor where women are participating in the household, in practices of reproduction and domesticity that are essential for thinking about how we interact with the broader world. And so I think of environmentalism as fundamentally tied to the rise of feminist thought itself. In today's political movements, we can see that there's a reason that when we look at the young people who are taking leadership in critiques about the exploitation of the environment today, in critiques of global warming, it's really women, young women, who are sounding the alarm, who are saying, this is affecting our bodies. This is affecting what the future and the promise of what we get to have. And that's perhaps unsurprising because I think environmentalism has been critical to feminist movements since the rise of feminism itself.